The House will come to order. Today's Pledge of Allegiance is by Skylar Paloma Bowery, Casey Knorr, Eva Martinez, and Alasia Hamlet. And we're very thankful that you're all here.
Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I almost said it.
Representatives Arndt, Becker J, Becker K, Beckman, Beckman,
Excuse.
Benavides, Bridges, Buck, Representative Buck, Representative Beckman is present.
Excuse.
Buckner, Carver, Catlin, Coleman, Covarrubias, Danielson, Escar, Everett, Exum, Foote, Garnett, Janal, Gray, Hamner, Hanson, Herod. Representative Buck is present. Hooten, Humphrey, yes. Jackson, Kennedy, Kraft Arp, Landgraf, Lawrence, Lebsock, Lee, Leonard, Lewis, Liston, Lontine, Lundeen, McKean,
Excuse.
McLaughlin, Melton, Michelson Janae, Neville, Pabone, Pabone,
Excuse.
Pedersen, Rankin, Ransom, Ransom,
Excused.
Ryer, Roberts, Rosenthal, Sane, Salazar, Sandridge, Sias, Singer, Thurlow, Valdez, Van Winkle, Weissman, Willett, Williams, Wilson, Winter, Wist, Young, Madam Speaker.
Here.
Representative Ransom is present.
With 63 present and 2 excused, we do have a quorum. Representative Buck.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I move that the reading of the Journal of Friday, February 2nd, 2018 be dispensed with and approved and corrected by the wonderful, wonderful Chief Clerk.
All right, members, you have heard the motion. All of those in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed signify by saying no. No. That motion passes. Announcements and introductions. Announcements or introductions? Any announcements or introductions? Representative Breyer.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Today we are being joined by the Colorado school counselors. School counselors are a very important part of our schools today, and I'm very happy to have them here and be able to introduce them. They have traveled from every corner of our state to meet you and to learn how our legislation impacts their jobs, schools, and communities. And right now they're probably looking at you and wondering why the teacher hasn't told you to sit down. Today is the first day of National School Counseling Week. The Colorado School Counselor Association is joining us in recognition of School Counseling Week to help increase awareness about the important and necessary role that school counselors play in the lives of our students. School counselors work with every student in the school and help develop well-rounded students by guiding them through their academic, personal, social, and career development. Counselors make a powerful difference for both individual students and society. Secondary and post-secondary access professionals provide students with effective preparation skills to achieve their goals. These professionals engage every Colorado student in a multi-year individualized process that intentionally collaborates with both students and families to explore career, academic, and post-secondary opportunities. School counselors are usually the only professionals in a school building who are formally trained in both education and mental health matters. Frequently, as the only mental health resources in schools, counselors are instrumental in helping all students, teachers, and their parents deal with difficult situations. The reality is students face a myriad of serious challenges every day, including poverty, peer pressure, depression, school violence, homelessness, the deployment of family members to serve in conflicts overseas. This list is endless. Quite frequently, it is only the support of a counselor that students are able to overcome their adversities and go on to achieve their dreams that previously to them felt impossible. Therefore, please welcome and thank our school counselors for their hard work, their dedication to our students, and their invaluable contributions to the state of Colorado. And I am very, very proud to say that my own sister is one of those counselors, and I know for sure that she does an amazing job, as do all the others. Would you please welcome the counselors to our floor today? Do we have any in the gallery?
Further announcements or introductions? I think I saw Representative Janal was second. Representative Janal.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I appreciate that. Members of the Health Insurance and Environment Committee, we will not have a meeting upon adjournment tomorrow. I repeat, we will not have a committee meeting upon adjournment tomorrow. Those bills that are up will be reassigned to another date. Thank you.
Further announcements or introductions? Representative Lee.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. It is a high honor and distinct pleasure to introduce a former representative from the eastern part of Colorado, please give a warm welcome to Representative Wes McKinley.
Hello, Representative McKinley. It's great to see you. Further announcements or introductions, Representative Beckman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good financial news once again in Colorado. The defense giant Harris Corp announced last week that it will award 10 shares of the company's stock valued at $1,400 to non-executive employees, and that includes 900 employees that work in Colorado. It's part of the $350 million it plans to spend from tax benefits it anticipates from the federal tax cut. This Melbourne, Florida-based company that's based in Colorado Springs will also make a one-time $300 million contribution to its employees' pension fund. So that's really great news for some employees in the state of Colorado.
All right, further announcements or introductions? Representative Hamner. And Representative Rankin.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Good morning, colleagues. Representative Rankin and I are here in the well, reminding you that last week we told you the supplementals were coming, and guess what? They're here. So on your desk, you'll find an overview package of the supplemental requests that are being made by each department, and there are 3 supplemental bills at the end of the packet. And members, these are all adjustments that are being requested to keep this year's budget in balance and to make changes based on our projections.
Representative Rankin.
Madam Speaker, so in our newfound attitude, our newfound approach to the Joint Budget Committee, which includes transparency and feedback, we expect you to actually read this document before tomorrow.
Representative Hamner.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. He sounded so angry when he said that. Would you please read your materials? And if you have questions, please let one of your Joint Budget Committee members know. Otherwise, we will do our best to address them tomorrow morning in our caucus meetings.
Right.
We will be in LSB B and A tomorrow morning.
Thank you.
All right, further announcements or introductions? Any further announcements or introductions? Representative Wilson.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Colleagues, on your desk, you've got the Capitol Commission meeting tomorrow morning downstairs. Lots of good food, lots of good fellowship, and the way things are going, we need lots of good prayers. So show up and we'll take care of that. Thanks.
Further announcements or introductions? Any further announcements or introductions? Seeing no further announcements or introductions, that takes us to general order, second reading of bills. All right, and it sounds like Representative Kraft-Tharp is going to be in the chair. Representative Kraft-Tharp. All right, seeing no objection, Representative Kraft-Tharp will take the chair. No.
You ready? Okay, the committee will come to order. With your unanimous consent, the bills will be read by title unless there is a request for reading a bill at length. Committee amendments will not be read unless requested, as they are printed in your bill folders and on your iPad. Floor amendments will be shown on the screen and not read unless requested. Bills will be laid over upon motion of the majority leader, and the court rule is relaxed. Mr. Randall, please read the title of House Bill 1005.
House Bill 1005 by Representatives Pedersen and Becker JL. Senator Pirola considering notice post-secondary course enrollment options available to high school students.
I understand.
Makes it easy.
Representative Pedersen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move House Bill 1005 and the House Education Committee report.
To the committee report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We wanted to clarify exactly what language the school districts are going to send out to inform students about the opportunities that they have for concurrent enrollment and the expenses, and I ask for your support.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the committee report? Representative Becker? No? Seeing none? All in favor of the committee report, please say aye.
Aye.
Those no? Committee report passes. Representative Becker, to the bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And members, this is a bill that a lot of you have come up and spoke to me about. It is about notifying parents and making sure they know the benefits of concurrent enrollment, what each of these programs does for them, what the cost of it is, what it's zero cost, and which programs are available to them in their area. I would ask for an aye vote.
Thank you. Representative Bridges.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move Amendment L002 and ask that it be displayed.
Thank you. L002 is properly displayed. Please explain the amendment.
So this amendment, the way the bill is currently written, it says that the notification to students may include coursework related to apprenticeship programs and internship programs. This amendment just simply says that including those. It doesn't leave it up to the school districts. I know most of them already include this. We just want to make sure it's clear that this is something they need to be talking about.
Any further discussion? Representative Pedersen.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and we both support this amendment and ask that you do as well.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Amendment L002, please say aye.
Aye.
Any objections? L002 passes. Representative Pedersen, to the bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, this is an important bill because it's going to increase access to concurrent enrollment, ensuring that students have the information that they need. They are more likely to pursue a post-secondary education and graduate with less debt. So this is a great bill, and we ask for your support.
Thank you. Any further discussion on House Bill 1005? Representative Leonard.
Thank you, Madam Speaker Pro Tem. This bill is a continuation of last year's bill. I think everybody is in agreement that concurrent enrollment, any opportunities we can open up for kids to be able to learn more while they're in K through 12 is a good thing. And if they get college credits for that, all the better. And last year, we, the state, deemed that it was important for us to tell the school districts that they needed to give the children that they are responsible for notice that this actually is going on. That's a pretty big presumption on our part that we care more about the students' education than they think. But this goes one step further. And it was represented in committee. I was a no vote on this in committee because I think it's an unnecessary bill. These are one of those bills that we are micromanaging our school districts, and these unfunded mandates that we're constantly putting in front of our school districts are what they're objecting to. It was represented that it was the school districts actually that wanted this clarification in the bill that they need, what kind of notice. Last year we gave notice, and I wanted to read a little bit about what that notice that we passed last year. That each local education provider shall annually notify all students and parents or legal guardians of students enrolled in the local education provider of the opportunity for concurrent enrollment by qualified students in post-secondary courses, including academic courses and career and technical education courses, which may include coursework related to apprenticeships and internships programs. So as if that was not enough to give them notice, it was represented that they needed to get a more clarification on that notice. However, no one from the school districts came in and testified on this at hearing. The only testimony we had were from 3 community colleges, which, God bless them, we already know that that's good for them, and that's why we did this in the first place. So for us to actually give clarification that the notice, this is what's new in this bill, the notice must include information regarding financial, academic, and career benefits and the timelines that would affect it, as if those districts couldn't already do that with notice, that we actually need a bill to tell them how to give the notice on concurrent education, I think is incredible micromanagement on the part of the state. I would leave that to the districts, and I would urge a no vote on this bill and other bills that we do to give mandates to school districts over the students that they educate. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Everett. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Representative Chair or whatever. I was a no vote on this bill for a couple reasons. First and foremost is another mandate on school districts. I've been traveling the state for the last 9 months, and it's been pretty clear. It doesn't matter if it's a left-leaning, right-leaning, small, big, in between. As they say, cut the strings. Let us educate our kids as best we can. This is another violation of local control. I urge a no vote. Thanks.
Thank you, Representative Pedersen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The school districts are okay with this bill. We worked to make sure that we clarified the language. This is about setting a standard statewide on ensuring that students have this information on time to actually register for concurrent enrollment, but also that we create consistent language around the information that they're getting. And I ask for your support.
Thank you, Representative Wilson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Colleagues, this is just another step in the right direction on a long road. I'm one of those that has had experience with concurrent enrollment since before some of you were probably in school, some of you younger ones. But the problem is that a lot of times parents and guardians do not know what's available in spite of all the efforts on the part of the school district. And this is another step in the right direction because it does increase awareness by parents and guardians. And I can't understand why anyone would not want to have people become more aware of the concurrent enrollment that's available. And of course, the other advantage to that is that once more people know about it, more young people will enroll in concurrent courses. So I would urge your aye vote on the bill as amended.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, members, the question before us is the passage of House Bill 1005. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. House Bill 1005 passes. Mr. Randall, please read the title to House Bill 1096.
House Bill 1096, Representative Gray, House Senator Priola, concerning the eligibility of certain entities to apply for a special event permit to sell alcohol beverages.
Thank you. Representative Gray.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, this bill I move House Bill 1096.
Thank you. There is no committee report. Representative?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This bill makes it clear that municipalities and special districts can get a special event permit for brief use of alcohol for all purposes that they would have, not simply artistic purposes. This is the way the law has been applied for the last 6 years. The Liquor Enforcement Division has rules that allow cities and towns to have special events like this. In Broomfield, we have a lot around open space and some that follow triathlons and those sorts of activities. The Attorney General's office took a look at the current statute and said the current rule went a little too far and there wasn't statutory authority for it, but we're giving us time to clean it up. So this is a cleanup bill that allows the current practices for these types of events that are currently ongoing to continue throughout the state. I'd ask for an aye vote.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, members, the question before us is the passage of House Bill 1096. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. House Bill 1096 passes. Mr. Randall, please read the title for House Bill 1032.
House Bill 1032 by Representatives Kennedy and Thurlow, Law Senators Fields and Tate, concerning access to medical records from the Department of Public Health and Environment's EMS Agency Patient Care Database by Health Information Organization Networks.
Thank you. Representative Kennedy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move House Bill 1032.
And go to the bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, this is a pretty straightforward bill that has to do with improving our healthcare quality by giving better access to the data that's collected during ambulance trips for the improvement of quality in other parts of the healthcare system. I ask for an aye vote.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Representative Thurlow.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, members. I would also ask for an aye vote on 1032. I refer to this bill as merely a business process bill. There's a health information exchange system which is now in place, and the effort is to improve both the quality and the cost of all of our health care. There's one piece missing with the information that comes into the exchange. It's the emergency medical system information that's already being collected. Every time you ride in an ambulance, there's a trip sheet posted, and that information is going to CDPHE, but that's not where it needs to be to actually interact with the health information exchange process. So that's all this bill does, is gets information that's already being collected into the right place so it can be used to take care of your health. Ask for an aye vote.
Thank you. Representative Beckman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I stand in opposition of House Bill 1032. This is not just a business process bill. I want to represent the views of those we serve, our constituents who are tired of the callous and arrogant attitude that government and legislators have toward their most personal data. Data sharing, data integration, and data breaches with their most personal information. This bill may seem benign, but the bill requires that the Department of Public Health provide patient information that has not previously been accessible to a third-party vendor weeks and weeks and weeks after the fact. The emergency EMS patient care database, that was a database that was supposed to be used for aggregate studying of the systems for emergency services. This bill is not a bill concerning the standard HIPAA-allowed exchanges of information between first responders. That happens every day. When the emergency ambulance delivers someone to the hospital, they can call, they can get information. Information is exchanged often and has been for years. This is already happening. This bill concerns information that is given to the Public Health Department weeks after. It transfers information from that trip sheet that has a lot of personal information that is gathered at the scene of the emergency, most often in the home or in the place of business. When people are not aware that what they are telling these emergency service providers is going to be on their record, they don't have a disclosure that they can say, we don't want this information shared. The bill allows a data dump, because that's what it is, to a private sector entity, Health Information Networks. They can market and sell this information that they get weeks after the fact to medical offices and hospitals that pay for their data. There's a lot of concern about databases, and we should ask ourselves, does this bill strengthen privacy rights and help patients take greater control of their own health information? Or do we say that we're not going to support the data dump, not this time, and we're going to take a stand and say we respect our constituents' privacy, and that at the very least they should at least have to sign something, a disclosure or an approval of having this most personal information gathered in their home shared with everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Landgraf, before you start, Representative Landgraf, members, could I have every other person stop talking, please? That would take the noise level down halfway. Thank you. Representative Landgraf.
Thank you, Madam Chair. That was a brilliant idea. So I do support this, and I'll tell you why. We're already in this system. You can opt out, but when you go see your doctor, they upload whatever you're there for into their system, and depending on who you see and what hospital or doctor you go to, you normally get an email at home saying your health something has been updated, and you can go in there, you can look at the results of your blood work, your tests, your whatever you just did. Unfortunately, your weight is also in there, but we won't go there. So all this does is allow EMTs to do the same thing. So if I am taken to a hospital by ambulance, I want them to have access to my health records. I want them to know that I have X, Y, or Z, and that could impact what they're doing. And on the flip side, when I get to the hospital, I want the hospital to know that the EMTs administered whatever they administer. So this system is probably one of the securest that we have. You can opt out. You can always opt out. And it's a lot more secure than having it held by one of the state departments, CDPHE, who does maintain records, but not your individual health records. They'll maintain a record that says you used an ambulance, you were taken to the hospital, but not the details that this would allow. So this is really a safety issue to me, and I'm definitely a yes. I hope that at least some of you are yeses, because you should care about your health, you should care about the health of your families and your kids, and you should want that information accessible to the doctors on the opposite end of that hospital ride. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, to remind you, we are on House Bill 1032. Is there any further discussion? Representative Becker. Representative Humphrey. Actually, I was looking at if Representative Ransom wants to go first, because she was sitting there first. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Ransom.
I sat through the hearing in committee and learned a lot about what the ambulance drivers do and what EMTs are doing for you and to you in cases of emergency. But this still comes down to a matter of privacy. And when we've been told that you can opt out of this, but you can also make the choice to opt in if we don't make the sharing automatic. Just think, every time you go to your doctor's office, you're making the choice to go into your doctor's office. You sign a HIPAA form, you know what is being released and what will be in these big databases. The EMTs are in your home at times, or they're in areas of your home, your bedroom possibly, things, and they're making notes. All of this would be accessible in this database, and I think that opting in, having an opt-in process would be so much safer than asking people to opt out. HIPAA is there for a reason. We sign our consent for people to share data with all the other aspects of our life, and I think we need to sign an approval if we're going to share this data. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Representative Humphrey, please join us. I'm truly sorry. Please accept my apology.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And members, I just wanted to step up briefly and just let you know that I am opposed to the bill. I concur with Representative Beckman's comments and Representative Ransom's that the issue here is the data dump, and I think that that's really something that the health plans want, and we really need to protect privacy. And I think there's already good communication between the hospital and the folks out there in the ambulances. I don't think there's a crisis here. I think this is really about access to this data, and it's not, from what I understand, it's not de-identified. It's not aggregate. This is people's personal information. And we were told that there is an opt-out, but I don't know how someone's going to know about an opt-out when they're in that sort of a situation. I would prefer rather that, you know, if they wanted to be involved in something like this, that they could give permission, but that wouldn't serve the purposes of the data dump, and it probably didn't serve the purposes of the bill. Thank you.
Representative Kennedy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just thought I would clarify a couple of quick things here. There is an opt-out process. Every single patient is given a form that they sign that is part of their HIPAA disclosure. Different hospitals do it in different ways or different facilities, but you can opt out. It is part of the existing system. It will continue to be part of the system after this bill. Also, there's a comment just made about this might be something that the health plans want. The health plans will not have access to this data. This is for providers. This is solely for the improvement of the quality of health care.
Thank you. Representative Carver.
I rise in opposition to HB 18-1032. Members, we have a serious issue on data privacy and how we manage databases and how we do information sharing among agencies and to third-party vendors. And this bill is just one example of that problem. We need a principle of informed opt-in. It is not a true opt-out option when you are in a crisis situation, in an emergency situation. You are focused on that for yourself or your family member, and the folks that show up are saying, oh, we've got this paperwork we need to have you do. You're not thinking about walking through the legalese of an opt-out statement at that point. If we are truly concerned about data privacy, if we are truly concerned about a modicum of protection of our personal information, we would build into our data management systems and data collection an opt-in, that is, default for privacy, default for autonomy and control over our personal information. I am perfectly capable of, once I am taken by ambulance into the hospital, of giving permission to whichever doctor or health insurance plan needs to see that information. And I can make that decision. So I strongly oppose 1032. We really need a revolution in how we do data collection and management. Let's start with a no vote on 1032.
Thank you. So members, just to remind you, we are on House Bill 1032. Representative Thurlow.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, members, for those great comments. What I would suggest is the opt-in and opt-out is a bigger discussion. Right now, you can opt out if you want to. And yes, I agree, it's a whole different issue if we turned it around and made it opt-in. But if we're going to do that, we need to make it global for the whole network. It doesn't do any good to have a separate opt-out piece just for the ambulance ride. I think we should correct the process, and then if we want to have another global discussion about whether you opt in or opt out of the system, I think that's totally appropriate.
Thank you. Representative Carver.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, we have gotten to this place that we are in Colorado and the nation because we have gotten there incrementally, right? We set up a new database when we set up a new program. We do ad hoc decisions on how information gets shared to third-party vendors and contractors. And now we find ourselves in a position where our personal data across so many databases does not have privacy protections built in and embedded in those systems. So with all due respect, I don't see why we would continue to go down this road. And I think this is the best time, today, the day we're in, to take a stance for data privacy and to say this is not the way we want to collect data, manage data, and share data. I urge a no vote.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Representative Kennedy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to remind everyone that HIPAA is a pretty robust federal law right now that our providers and our healthcare facilities deeply respect. They are deeply concerned about protecting patient privacy, and any information that is in the system will be used exclusively to improve the quality of care in our healthcare system. I ask for an aye vote.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, members, the question before us is the passage of House Bill 1032. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. House Bill 1032 passes. Mr. Randall, please read the title of House Bill 1066.
House Bill 1066, Representatives Willett and Foote, Senator Cook, concerning clarifying that law enforcement and defense counsel exemption for sexual exploitation of a child crime does not change the discovery procedures for sexually exploitative material.
Thank you. Representative Foote.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move House Bill 1066, and there is no committee report.
That is correct. To the bill.
Thank you, sir.
Representative Foote.
Thank you, Madam Chair. House Bill 1066 is a cleanup from last year. It really is a cleanup. It deals with some materials in the course of criminal investigations and how they are or are not discovered with defense counsel and defense investigators. There was a bill last year that just made it so that those particular types of materials would not be any kind of an offense if the defense possessed those materials. And there was some issues over the interim about whether or not the defense and those investigators can take those materials outside of a secure computer and without internet and some other protective measures. And we decided just to be absolutely clear this year to run a bill that would clean up and say, look, the discovery procedures for those types of materials are still in place. There's nothing new about that. We still want to protect and make sure those images don't get out into the public. And so everything about the procedures before about those discovery is the same, and it just had to be crystal clear based on some of the feedback we received in the interim. So we asked for an aye vote.
Thank you, Representative Foote. Representative Willett.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm just really here as an emotional support legislator for Representative Foote. But seriously, this was a bill where the criminal defense bar and the prosecutors all agree. So this is an easy yes vote, cleanup bill.
Thank you. You're doing a good job, Representative Willett. Member, is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of House Bill 1066. All those in favor say aye. Those any more ayes? Thank you. All those opposed say no. House Bill 1066 passes. Mr. Randall, please read the title of House Bill 1095.
House Bill 1095, Representatives Carver and Arnold, Senators Gardner and Todd, concerning educator licenses issued to military spouses.
Representative Carver.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move the committee report to House Bill 18-1095.
Thank you. I'll also need you to move the bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Move the bill as well as the committee report to 18-1095.
Okay, so the bill that you're moving is House Bill 1095, and then you're moving the Education Committee report, and let's go to the committee report.
Oh, go ahead.
Representative Arndt.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The committee report, what we did was add a little bit of parentheses around this bill to allow it 3 years of non-contiguous service, but within the last 7. And we urge an aye vote.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the Education Committee report? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of the Education Committee report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Seeing none, Education Committee report passes. To the bill, Representative Carver.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The genesis of House Bill 18-1095 arose from a discussion I had with military spouses last fall, who talked about the difficulty they faced when they came to Colorado with their active duty spouse, and they had an out-of-state teacher's license. In many instances, they move every 2 years, particularly in the Army. And Colorado's rule of for out-of-state licenses, you can only waive in, that is, not have to take the exam, if you had 3 continuous years with your out-of-state license in a prior location. Well, the difficulty was with the folks that move every 2 years, even though these were very experienced teachers, very successful, they could never meet the 3 continuous years. And so they were always in a position of having to take the exam, even for teachers with 15, 20 years of outstanding teaching experience. And so this bill removes the requirement for continuous 3 years, still retains the requirement for 3 years, but gives that flexibility of 3 years out of 7. We also heard from the military spouses how often they move, a much higher percentage than the normal population. This really is a particular burden on them, and so I would ask for your support.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion on House Bill 1095? Representative Lawrence.
Okay. You look so shocked. Thank you, Madam Chair. I just have a question. I understand that military families move around on a regular basis, but we have a lot of other people who, for job transitions, that they're moving in and out of the state and moving around. Why are we limiting this teacher license exception to only military? I think if we truly have a teacher shortage, we should broaden this and apply it to anyone under those similar circumstances.
Representative Carver. Orange.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Representative Lawrence, that is a great point, and certainly in the committee discussion, we discussed this broader point, that while there is particular impact on military spouses who, compared to the rest of the population, move 30% more than the general population, so there is a particular burden on them. But I absolutely agree with your point that we may very well want to look at whether or not this continuous 3 years is too restrictive as to all teachers who are coming to Colorado with an out-of-state license, and whether that restriction makes sense. But with the bill title here, we didn't want to make the perfect the enemy of the good. The testimony was pretty compelling about the particular burden on military spouses coming to Colorado. So I would ask for your support for this bill, and would certainly welcome a discussion on that broader topic. But you are absolutely right, that is an area that needs to be addressed.
Representative Landgraf.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think this is a great bill. I do agree with Representative Lawrence that it could be expanded, but one thing to keep in mind, not only do people move every 2 years, they have no option on when those 2 years starts and finishes. They're told they're moving and they move. So if it's mid-year or off-season for hiring, there's no way military spouses can get those 3 years of continuous teaching in. So I definitely support this, and I hope you will too. Thank you, Representative Carver and Arndt, for bringing it.
Thank you. Representative Leonard.
Thank you, Madam Speaker Pro Tem. I was very pleased with the bill and also with the testimony that we heard in here, and I was glad to see the discussion centered around how do we open up licensing and be able to relax that. That's a restriction that is keeping teachers away from the classroom by having this. I was a no vote on the bill only because the discussion was so positive that I knew it was going to pass, and I am a big proponent with not separating this licensure into classes, but actually being able to open it up to all those people coming in from out of state so that they don't have this kind of licensing restriction. And I'd like to see more, hopefully, of whether it's rural or anywhere else, being able to have these licensing requirements relaxed so that more qualified teachers are able to get into our classrooms. So that was my position on a no vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Members, the question before us is the passage of House Bill 1095. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. House Bill 1095 passes. Mr. Randall, let's read the title to House Bill 1100.
House Bill 1100 by Representative Hamner, also Senator Lambert, concerning the continuous appropriation of money in the Educator Licensure Cash Fund.
Representative Hamner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, colleagues. I move House Bill 1100. There are no committee reports.
To the bill, Representative.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, House Bill 1100 is coming to you from the Joint Budget Committee. At the request of the Colorado Department of Education, they're asking for continuous spending authority in the Teacher Licensure Fund for another 3 years. It has allowed the department to be more responsive to the needs of the relicensure process, and I ask for a yes vote.
Thank you, Representative Hamner. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of House Bill 1100. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. House Bill 1100 passes. Mr. Randall, please read the title to House Bill 1101.
House Bill 1101 by Representative Hamner, also Senator Lambert, concerning modification of the manner in which gross retail marijuana tax revenue is transferred from the general fund to the state public school fund is required by current laws and appropriated from the state public school fund.
Representative Hamner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move House Bill 1101. There are no committee reports.
To the bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Colleagues, House Bill 1101 is also coming to you from the Joint Budget Committee, and this is a cleanup from a bill that we passed last year regarding the use of marijuana tax revenue funding our public schools. And it's an accounting true-up to allow us to spend the funds when we actually know exactly how much we have, and that would be collecting the funds in 1 year and spending them on our schools in the following year. So I ask for a yes vote.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of House Bill 1101. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. House Bill 1101 passes. Mr. Assistant Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move to labor House Bill 1033 to Friday, February 9th.
Thank you. Are there any objections? Seeing none, the House Bill 1033 will be laid over as requested by the Assistant Majority Leader. Mr. Randall, please read the title for House Bill 1039.
House Bill 1039 by Representative Ransom, also Senator Gardner, concerning changing regular special district elections in May to each odd number year and in connection therewith adjusting the length of term served by directors elected in 2020 and 2022 in order to implement the new election schedule.
Representative Ransom.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move House Bill 1039. There is no committee report.
To the bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This bill helps county clerks realign the special district election dates that they help facilitate for special districts every other year. Because of the new laws that we passed year before last, 107 and 108, which add more work for the county clerks, i.e. the presidential primaries. So in order to not have a ton of work in even-numbered years and then not very much work in odd-numbered years and possibly have to hire temps in the even-numbered years, we are just changing the length of the district officers' terms to 3 years for the next 2 cycles and 5 years. So over a period of the next 5 years, the entire bill will be implemented. It really just smooths out the workload for county clerks. County clerks are in support. The special districts are in support. The League of Women Voters came and testified in support because it makes election cycles easier, which would also in turn make voting easier. And with that, I urge an aye vote.
Thank you. Representative Liston.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Representative Ransom, I'm just curious, this is interesting bill about special district elections and phasing this in. So will these directors who are on the boards, will their terms be kind of phased in periodically? So if you have a 4-year term and you were elected in 2016, will it become ultimately a 3-year term or a 5-year term? That's one question I have.
Representative Ransom.
Thank you, Madam Chair. To answer your question, current directors will not have any changes to their terms because they were elected with a certain length of term in mind. And the ones that are elected in 2020 and 2022 will have adjusted lengths in order to make sure that we can move to the odd-numbered years.
Representative
over a
Liston.
5-year period.
Thank you. Representative Ransom, I'm just curious, you know, in these elections, do property owners who own property in the district that are out of state, do they have the ability to vote for the board of directors?
Representative Ransom.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't know.
Representative Liston.
I'm just curious. It's my understanding they don't, but I just was curious.
Representative Ransom.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The county clerks run the elections. They would be sending ballots. If they run the election for the special districts, they would send ballots to everybody that's registered to vote on their voter lists. And some special districts run their own elections, but they still coordinate generally with the county clerks to make sure that their lists are up to date. And possibly they get some help with receiving the mail or possibly setting up the ballot itself. The county clerks do help, and they use the lists that they have been provided based on the registration lists.
Representative Liston.
Thank you. Well, I spoke to my county clerk, El Paso County clerk, and he told me, this is just maybe sort of his opinion, but they don't like the county clerks, at least he does not like running special district elections, just FYI.
Mr. Minority Leader?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, simply put, this is a wonderful bill, given the fact that the counties will be required to run a presidential primary election. There is no way logistically possible for them to run a special district election during the same time frame without this bill. This bill will actually allow them logistically to run the special districts if the special districts choose to coordinate with the counties. I think that's a good thing for all of us. I think it's a good thing for election integrity, and thank you for bringing the bill, Representative Ransom.
Thank you. Representative Gray.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to be just the nerd you need, Representative Ransom. It is true that to be a voter based upon property ownership in the state of Colorado, based on owning property instead of residing within the district, you do need to be a Colorado registered voter. And most folks who reside outside of the state would not be a Colorado registered voter. They'd be registered somewhere else. But just to clarify Representative Liston's point.
Thank you. Representative Ransom.
Representative Gray, I really appreciate you clarifying that point, even though, as we discussed, it really is not applicable to this bill at all. But again, it's a good bill. I urge an aye vote.
Representative Lewis.
Thank you, Madam Speaker Pro Tem. Just want to clarify just a little bit. I think everybody is correct on this. There are special districts that are water conservancy districts that have to have elections, but there are some that aren't, and they're nominated and put in by judges. And I wish that I'd known about the bill a little ahead of time. Both Representative Ryer and myself have a problem in the Lower Arc where it's more of a good old boys club, and we'd like to have it where the county clerk would actually do an election rather from the people. We believe that that's the way it should be, from the people. But I just wanted to clarify that just a little bit, and thank you for the bill.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, members, the question before us is the passage of House Bill 1039. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. House Bill 1039 passes. Mr. Assistant Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Nice job today. I move the committee rise and report.
Thank you very much. You have heard the motion. Seeing no objection, the committee will rise and report.
House will come to order. Mr. Randall, please read the report of the Committee of the Whole.
Madam Speaker, your committee of the whole Big Lead report has under consideration the following attached bills, being the second reading thereof, and makes the following recommendations thereon. House Bill 1005 is amended. House Bill 1032, House Bill 1039, House Bill 1066, House Bill 1095 is amended. House Bill 1096, House Bill 1100, House Bill 1101 passes second reading. Order goes placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. House Bill 1033, that over until February 9th, 2018, pertaining is placed on the calendar.
Representative Crowtharp. All right, members, you have heard the motion. There are no amendments at the desk. Mr. Randall, please open the machine, and members, please proceed to vote. Representative Beck, Representative Buckner, Representative Covarrubias, Representative Danielson, Representative Herod, Representative Lawrence, Representative Breyer, Representative Young. Please vote.
Are you the whip? Where are your members? Representative Lawrence and Representative Breyer. That will be $3. Representative Covarrubias will be excused. With 62 yes votes, 1 no vote, and 2 excused, the report of the Committee of the Whole is adopted. Are we doing a resolution? All right, introduction of resolution.
Okay.
Senate Joint Resolution 4 by Senator Sonnenberger of Fields, also Representative Lawrence, concerning the designation of February 4th as Missing Persons Day in Colorado.
Madam Majority Leader Becker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move to suspend the rules for immediate consideration of Senate Joint Resolution 4.
Seeing no objection, we will suspend the rules for the immediate consideration of SJR 4. Representative Lawrence.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I ask that the resolution be read.
Representative Lawrence, would you like to move the resolution?
Sorry, Madam Speaker. I move Senate Resolution 4 and ask that it be read.
Whereas, each year, hundreds of thousands of families are faced with what President Ronald Reagan called the stark terror of a unique tragedy, a missing family member. And whereas every 40 seconds, someone goes missing in America, approximately 2,300 Americans are reported missing every day, and there are as many as 90,000 active missing person cases in the United States at any given time. Whereas in 2016, the FBI's National Crime Information Center logged 647,435 missing persons reports. By December 31st, 2016, the FBI reported 88,040 active missing persons in the United States, with almost half being juveniles under the age of 21. And whereas children and adults go missing from their families for a number of devastating reasons, they run away or wander and become lost, they disappear under circumstances indicating that their disappearance may not have been voluntary, or they go missing under suspicious circumstances, indicating that they may be in physical danger or the victims of foul play. And whereas in 2002, Colorado Governor Bill Owens signed House Bill 2-1083, establishing the AMBER, America's Missing Broadcast Emergency Response Alert Program in Colorado, named after 9-year-old Amber Hagerman, who was abducted and killed in Texas in 1996. The program ensures that local law enforcement agencies can use the emergency alert system in Colorado to broadcast information to alert citizens of missing children. And whereas since 1996, Amber Alerts have successfully recovered 800 children nationally. And whereas for all the important work done to recover missing children, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children reported on its website in 2016 that 465,676 missing child reports were made to law enforcement in 2016. And the organization lists 84 missing Coloradan children from every area of the state. Though all disappeared from their families when they were children, some have been missing for decades. And whereas while too many families grieve and hope for their missing children, others are in search of their missing family members of all ages. And whereas according to the Alzheimer's Association, 6 in 10 people with Alzheimer's or dementia will wander and may become lost, a frequent and frightening challenge for their caregivers and their families. And whereas in 2007, Colorado Governor Bill Ritter signed House Bill 7-1005 into law, which expanded the Silver Alert program for senior citizens to include people with developmental disabilities to connect caretakers with law enforcement officials who can use the reach of the radio and television stations and other media to alert the community. And whereas the awareness of citizens, media, and law enforcement, as well as their support, their efforts, and their search for missing persons must continue. And whereas the public plays a critical role in the success of the Amber and Silver Alert programs, they become the eyes and the ears of law enforcement and can be on the lookout for the missing person. And whereas the common misconception that a person must be absent for at least 24 hours before being legally classified as missing is dangerous, when there is evidence of violence or of an unusual absence, it is critical that an investigation begin promptly. And whereas new advances in technology must be utilized and made available to locate the missing. And whereas the state of Colorado is committed to the safety and well-being of its citizens, both children and adults, and whereas the designation of Missing Persons Day in Colorado will firmly embed the importance of missing persons and their families and friends in our state calendar and will raise a level of awareness with other cities and states that have already designated a Missing Persons Day. And whereas the designation of Missing Persons Day in Colorado offers a platform to plan events that will connect families with resources to help identify and find their long-term missing loved ones. And whereas the designation of Missing Persons Day in Colorado will ensure that the families and friends of the missing know that they are not alone in this tragedy of uncertainties and lack of closure, which leads to extreme suffering and long-lasting effects on the health, finances, and relationships of those left behind. And whereas every missing person is someone's son or daughter, father or mother, brother or sister, partner or friend, and every missing person deserves to be searched for and found. Now therefore be it resolved by the Senate of the 71st General Assembly of the State of Colorado, the House of Representatives concurring herein, that we, the members of the General Assembly, recognize the epidemic of the missing in America as the silent mass disaster and empathize with the ongoing suffering of the families and friends of those who are missing, that we recognize the importance of raising awareness of the numbers of people who go missing in Colorado each year, that we applaud the committed efforts of families, law enforcement agencies, and concerned citizens who work to locate the missing persons, that we encourage the continued support of worthy initiatives in private and public programs to increase efforts to locate missing persons, and that we hereby designate February 4th of each year as Missing Persons Day and support the goals and ideals of that day, and that we acknowledge the names and the families of the Coloradans who are currently missing.
Representative Lawrence.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, you may be seated. I know we're designating February 4th, and that was last week, but this is something that certainly deserves a second day and a second recognition for all the families across the state and across the country who have no idea where their loved one is. whether it's through foul play. For those of us who work on human trafficking bills, is that part of this? For those of us who have had family members with Alzheimer's, it's frightening to think of them wandering off and they don't know where they are. They don't know how to tell someone where they live or who their family is. Whether you're young or old, your family is worried. It's something that never leaves you. And I just appreciate the fact that Colorado has been a leader in recognizing the heartbreak and the sorrow that goes along with this for all the family members across Colorado and across the nation. We will continue our efforts to make sure that people are aware of missing persons, that law enforcement continues to take another look at those cold cases, that we are always aware that it's not just something that's going on in some distant place. We may have friends, we may have family members, we may have neighbors that are dealing with this. So when you see that Amber Alert go out, take a moment and just look around you. Be a little bit more aware of what's going on. Maybe that car driving in the lane next to you, maybe that's the car they're looking for. Take a moment, say a prayer for the families who are out there wondering where their family member is. And thank you for this moment to recognize those families.
Thank you, Representative Lawrence. The question before us is the passage of SJR 4. All of those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed signify by saying no. SJR 4 is adopted. Representative Lawrence.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I would ask that today's roll call be added as co-sponsors.
Seeing no objection, today's roll call will be added as co-sponsors. Further announcements or introductions? Representative Arns.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, the House Ag, Livestock, and Natural Resources meeting room 107 as usual at 1:30, and we're going to hear House Bill 181133, 181139, and we'll have 3 sunset reviews. So bring your materials, and we'll get started and on our way. Thanks.
All right, Representative Hamner.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and colleagues. The calendar today shows that the Joint Budget Committee will be meeting upon adjournment, but that there is no need for the Budget Committee to meet today, so I'm just letting you know that there will be no Joint Budget Committee meeting today. Thank you.
Further announcements or introductions? Representative Scar.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I have 2 quick announcements, if that's okay.
Sure.
Thank you. Members, Capital Development Committee will be meeting tomorrow morning, but at 8 o'clock versus 7:30, like our usual time, Senate Room 357. And also just wanted to remind you all that we still have these posters for your offices. If you'd like one, come by my office, office 223. Before you receive one, you just have to sign a pledge that you, in fact, have read our policy and procedures. You can pick them up from my aide. I do ask that you actually come to pick them up and not send an aide, because you are signing that you were the one who read this because it's your office. If you have any questions, let me know. Thank you.
Madam Majority Leader, are you about to close this out, or do you have an announcement?
One announcement.
Okay, Madam Majority Leader Becker.
A reminder to everyone that tomorrow, upon adjournment, we are going to be caucusing on supplementals, and you'll either be going to LSBA or LSBB. So that's tomorrow, Tuesday, upon adjournment.
All right, and I do have an announcement as well. Representative Covarrubias, thank you for joining us. That will be a $5 fee. Madam Majority Leader Becker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move that the House stand in recess till 1 o'clock today.
All right, seeing no objection, the House will stand in recess till 1 o'clock today.